The ship shook hard. Red lights flashed. Alarms screamed. "Brace for impact," shouted the pilot over the speakers. His voice was drowned by the sound of metal tearing apart. Captain Todd grabbed the safety rail with both hands. His knuckles turned white. After 28 years in space, he knew when a ship was done for. This was one of those times. Across from him, a young recruit named Hannah closed her eyes. This was her first mission. It might also be her last. The military transport ship, Horizon, was supposed to reach the mining colony on Aritis in 8 hours. It would not make it there now. Something had gone wrong with the engines. The ship was falling from the sky like a stone. 10 seconds to impact, yelled the pilot. Tad looked at the people around him. 12 soldiers, all young, all scared. He had seen that look before, too many times. The ship hit the ground. The world turned upside down. Metal screamed. Bodies flew. Then darkness. Todd woke up to the smell of burning fuel. His head hurt. Blood ran down his face from a cut above his eye. He unbuckled his safety belt and fell to what used to be the ceiling of the ship, now the floor. "Sound off if you're alive," he shouted, his voice rough. Groans answered him. Movement in the shadows. Then a voice. "Recruit Hannah." "Sir, I'm okay." One by one, they called out. 8 voices, 8 survivors out of 13. The pilot and co-pilot were dead. So were 3 soldiers. Ta wiped the blood from his eyes. "We need to get out. The fuel could blow." They forced open the emergency exit. Bright light and heat hit them like a wall. Aritis was a desert planet. The sun burned down from a sky with no clouds. Sand stretched as far as they could see. No trees, no water, nothing but sand and rocks. Hannah shielded her eyes with her hand. "Where are we, sir?" Todd checked his wrist computer. It was cracked but still working. "We're 200 miles from the colony. Way off course." He looked at the burning ship. "We need to salvage what we can before it's all gone." They worked fast, pulling out supplies, water containers, emergency rations, medical kits, a few weapons. Not enough for 8 people to cross 200 miles of desert. Not nearly enough. An hour later, they stood in the shadow of a large rock, looking at their supplies. "We have 3 days of water, maybe 4 if we're careful," said June, the medic. "The colony is that way." Ta pointed west. "We start walking at sunset. It's too hot to move during the day." "Could we fix the radio?" asked Hannah. "Call for help." Ta shook his head. "The communications array is destroyed. No one knows where we are." Hannah looked at the burning wreck. It was their only way off this planet. Now it was just a funeral pyre for their dead comrades. "I've heard stories about Aritis," said Quan, a big soldier with burn marks on his arms. "They say there are things in the desert, things that hunt people." "Focus on what we know," said Ta sharply. "We have limited supplies. We have a destination. The rest doesn't matter." But they all knew it did matter. They were stranded in one of the most hostile environments in the galaxy, with little water and less hope. As the sun began to set, they gathered their supplies. The horizon had stopped burning, leaving only a black skeleton against the red sky. "Move out," ordered Ta. "Single file. Save your water. Don't talk unless necessary." They started walking. 8 tiny figures against the vastness of the desert. Unknown to any of them, especially Ta and Hannah, this was more than just a fight for survival. For 2 of them, it was the beginning of a truth buried for 25 years. The desert kept its secrets. For now, 3 days passed. The desert showed no mercy. Captain Ta checked his water bottle. Less than a quarter left. He looked at the 7 people walking behind him. Their faces were red from the sun. Their lips were cracked. No one had enough water. "We need to find shade," said Ta. "The morning sun was already too hot. We'll rest during the day and walk at night." They found a large rock that cast a shadow. It wasn't much, but it was better than nothing. They sat close together, saving every inch of shade. Hannah took a small sip of water. She had been careful with her supply. Some of the others had not. "I'm out," said Quan, turning his bottle upside down. Nothing came out. "Someone needs to share." "We all have the same amount," said June, the medic. "If you drank yours too fast, that's your problem." Quan's face turned angry. "I'm bigger. I need more." "Stop," said Tai in a hard voice. "Fighting won't help. We're still at least 5 days from the colony." "5 days," said Min, another soldier. "I won't last one more day without water." "There might be another way," said Hannah. Everyone looked at her. "My nav computer shows an old mining station about 30 miles east. It might have water." "Or it might have nothing," said Ta. "The colony is west. We know there's water there." "But it's too far," argued Hannah. "We won't make it." The group split in two. 4 wanted to go east to the mining station. Tai and 3 others, including Hannah, wanted to keep going west. "This is a mistake," said Tai to the 4 leaving. "Stay together. That's how we survive." "We'll die of thirst going your way," said Quan. "At least this way some of us might live." The groups parted. Todd watched the 4 figures grow smaller in the distance. He knew he would never see them again. "Let's move," he said to Hannah and the others. "We have ground to cover before the sun sets." That night, they walked under the stars. The desert was cold after dark. Their breath made clouds in the air. Hannah walked next to Ta. "Do you think they'll make it? The others?" she asked. "No," said Ta. He didn't believe in false hope. "That mining station has been abandoned for years. If it had water, someone would be living there." Suddenly, the ground shook. A deep rumble came from behind a large dune. "Get down," ordered Ta. They dropped to the sand. Over the dune came a strange creature. It was as big as a truck, with a shell-like rock and 6 legs that dug into the sand. Its mouth was a round hole filled with grinding teeth. "Sand borer," whispered Ta. "Don't move. They feel vibrations." The creature stopped, turning its eyeless head from side to side. It was hunting. Hannah held her breath. The sand borer moved closer. Its mouth opened and closed with a horrible grinding sound. Then Jin, one of the 2 remaining soldiers, panicked. He jumped up and ran. The sand borer turned fast. Too fast for something so big. It charged at Jin. Jin screamed once before the creature caught him. The sound stopped suddenly. The sand borer dragged what was left of Jin under the sand. Hannah, Tai, and Sue, the last soldier, stayed frozen until the ground stopped shaking. "We need to move," said Ta quietly. "Where there's one, there are more." They walked faster now, fear driving them. The night seemed endless. Their water was almost gone. Their hope was fading. At dawn, Sue collapsed. He had a fever. His skin burned hot. "Dust poisoning," said Tai, looking at the red spots on Sue's arms. "He must have breathed in too much of the toxic dust during yesterday's wind." Hannah gave Sue some of her water. "Will he be okay?" Tay's face was grim. "No, once it's in the lungs, it's over." Sue died before the sun was fully up. They couldn't dig a grave in the hard ground. They covered him with rocks and kept walking. Now it was just Ta and Hannah, 2 survivors against the desert. Their water almost gone. The colony still days away. The desert's trial had only just begun. The sun beat down hard on Tai and Hannah. They had found shelter under a rocky overhang. It was barely enough shade, but it would have to do. They could not walk during the day. The heat would kill them faster than thirst. Ta closed his eyes. His throat was dry. His water bottle held only a few sips. He tried not to think about it. Instead, his mind drifted to the past. 25 years ago, the moon colony. He had been a young officer then, full of dreams and pride. That was where he met Jin. Jin was not a soldier. She was a scientist who studied how to grow plants in space. She had a quick smile and kind eyes. Ta had fallen for her at once. Their time together had been short, only 3 months. Then Ta got new orders, a promotion, a chance to command his own ship. He left without looking back. I wonder if she ever forgave me, Ta whispered to himself. Did you say something? Asked Hana. She was sitting with her back against the rock, eyes half closed. Just talking to myself, said Ta. Old habit. Get some rest. We walk again when the sun goes down. Hana nodded and closed her eyes. But sleep did not come. Instead, she too found herself thinking of the past. She remembered her mother, Jin, a strong woman who raised Hana alone. Jin never talked much about Hana's father, only that he was a soldier who left before he knew Jin was pregnant. He wasn't a bad man, Jin would say. Just a man with stars in his eyes. The kind who looks up, not around. When Hana decided to join the military, Jin had not tried to stop her. Maybe you'll find what you're looking for up there, she had said. Just remember to come back. Now, stuck on this desert planet, Hana wondered if she would ever see her mother again. The day passed slowly. When the sun finally began to set, Ta shook Hana awake. Time to move, he said. They walked in silence for hours. The desert was different at night. Cold, quiet. The stars above were bright and clear. 2 moons hung in the sky, casting enough light to see by. How much water do you have left? Ta asked. Hana checked her bottle. Maybe 1 good drink. Same, said Ta. We need to find more soon. They kept walking, saving their strength, not talking. Each step was harder than the last. The sand seemed to pull at their boots. The air felt thick and dry. Near midnight, they saw something strange ahead, a patch of ground that looked wet. Water. Hana moved faster, hope giving her new energy. Wait, said Ta sharply. It might be. But Hana was already running toward the wet spot. As she got closer, she could see liquid shimmering in the moonlight. She fell to her knees, reaching out. Ta grabbed her arm and pulled her back hard. Don't touch it. The liquid moved. It wasn't water. It was alive. A thin film of it rose up, forming a shape like a hand reaching back toward Hana. Sand mirage, said Ta, pulling Hana away. It makes you see water, then dissolves your flesh for food. Hana's legs felt weak. She had almost died. I didn't know, she whispered. This planet is full of things waiting to kill you, said Ta. Never rush toward anything that looks good. It's usually a trap. They changed direction, giving the sand mirage a wide space. Hana noticed Ta walking with a slight limp. Are you hurt? She asked. Old injury, said Ta. Acts up sometimes. Nothing to worry about. But an hour later, he stumbled and fell. Hana helped him up. His skin felt hot. You need rest, she said. No time, said Ta. Need to keep moving. You won't make it if you don't rest, argued Hana. I'll find a safe spot. She helped him to a cluster of rocks. Ta's face was pale now. Sweat ran down his forehead, despite the cold night air. Hana knew what it meant. The beginning of dehydration sickness. Without water, he would die soon. She would too. She looked at her water bottle. One last sip. She looked at Ta, the man who had kept them alive this far. The decision was not easy, but it was clear. Hana looked at her water bottle. Just 1 sip left. She looked at Ta. His eyes were closed. His breathing was fast and shallow. The dehydration sickness was getting worse. Captain, she said, touching his shoulder. You need to drink. Ta opened his eyes slowly. Save it, he said, his voice rough. You'll need it more. You won't make it without water, said Hana. And I won't make it without you. She held the bottle to his lips. Ta wanted to refuse, but he was too weak. He took a small sip. The water barely wet his mouth, but it helped. Thank you, he said. "We need to find shelter," said Hannah. "The sun will be up soon." She helped Ta stand. They walked slowly, looking for any place to hide from the coming heat. The first light of dawn was already showing in the sky. "There," said Ta, pointing to a dark spot in the side of a hill. "Might be a cave." They made their way to the hill. It was a cave, small but deep enough to give good shade. They crawled inside just as the sun came up. The cave was cool and dark. They sat with their backs against the wall, too tired to speak. Tai reached into his pocket and took out a small photo. It was old and worn at the edges. He looked at it for a long time. "Who is that?" asked Hannah. Ta hesitated, then passed her the photo. It showed a young woman with a bright smile and kind eyes. "Someone I knew a long time ago," he said. Hannah looked at the photo. Something about the woman seemed familiar, but she couldn't place it. She gave the photo back to Ta. "What happened?" she asked. "I left," said Ta simply. "Got new orders. A better job. Thought it was more important than staying." "Do you regret it?" Ta put the photo back in his pocket. "Every day." They sat in silence for a while. Then Tai asked, "What about you? Anyone waiting for you back home?" "Just my mother," said Hannah. "She raised me alone. My father was a soldier. He left before I was born. Never knew about me." "That's tough," said Ta. "Growing up without a father." "Mom did her best," said Hannah. "She never said bad things about him, just that he had his own path to follow." Ta nodded. He seemed lost in thought. Suddenly, the ground began to shake. Small rocks fell from the roof of the cave. "What's happening?" asked Hannah, alarmed. "Quake," said Ta. "This planet has them all the time." He tried to stand up. "We should get out before." A loud crack cut off his words. A large rock fell, blocking half the cave entrance. More rocks were falling. "Move," shouted Ta. He pushed Hannah toward the entrance. They squeezed through the small opening just as the rest of the cave collapsed. They stood outside, watching dust rise from the ruined cave. They had lost their shelter. The sun was now fully up, beating down on them with terrible heat. "We need to find new shelter," said Ta. "Fast." They walked along the base of the hill, looking for another cave. The heat was already unbearable. Sweat ran down their faces, wasting precious body water they couldn't replace. Hannah started to feel dizzy. The world seemed to spin around her. She stumbled and fell to her knees. "Can't keep going," she gasped. Ta knelt beside her. He pulled out his water bottle. There was still a small amount left at the bottom. His last sip. He had been saving it. "Drink," he said, holding the bottle to her lips. "No," said Hannah, trying to push it away. "It's yours. Your last water." "Some things matter more than protocol," said Ta. "Some things matter more than survival." He helped her drink the last sip of water. It wasn't much, but it was enough to help Hannah stand again. "Why?" she asked, looking at him with confusion. "Why help me? I'm just a recruit. You don't even know me." Ta looked at her for a long moment. There was something in his eyes, something like recognition, though he didn't understand it himself. "I don't know," he said honestly. "Just feels like the right thing to do." They started walking again. The sun climbed higher in the sky. The desert stretched out before them, endless and merciless. But something had changed between them. A bond formed in the harshest place. Neither knew how important that bond really was. As the day grew hotter, Tai and Hannah found another small cave. This one was deeper than the first. They crawled inside, grateful for the cool darkness. "We'll stay here until sunset," said Ta. "Then keep moving." Hannah nodded. She was looking at Ta with new eyes. He had given her his last water. That was not something officers usually did for new recruits. "Tell me more about her," said Hannah, pointing to the pocket where Ta kept the photo. Ta was quiet for a moment. Then he took out the photo again. "Her name was Jin," he said. She was a scientist on the moon colony. We were together for 3 months, 25 years ago. Hannah's heart stopped. Jin, 25 years ago. The moon colony. It couldn't be. May I see the photo again? She asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Ta handed it to her. Hannah looked at it closely this time. The woman had the same smile as her mother. The same eyes. It was her mother, but younger. "This is my mother," said Hannah, her voice barely a whisper. Tai stared at her. "What did you say?" "This woman. Jin. She's my mother." Hannah's hands were shaking. "She raised me alone. She said my father was a soldier who left before I was born. 25 years ago." Tai's face went pale. He took the photo back, looking from it to Hannah and back again. "That's not possible," he said, but even as he said it, he was seeing the truth. Hannah had Jin's eyes, her smile, but her jaw, her hands, those were his. You're my daughter." The words felt strange in his mouth. Hannah didn't know what to feel. Anger, joy, shock, all of them mixed together inside her. "I guess I am," she said finally. Tai sat back against the cave wall. The shock was too much. All these days walking through the desert with this young woman, talking to her, fighting to survive with her. And she was his daughter, his and Jin's. "She never told me," he said. "I didn't know Jin was pregnant when I left." "Would you have stayed if you knew?" asked Hannah. There was no anger in her voice, just a need to know. Tai thought about it. Would he have given up his promotion, his command, for a family he never planned to have? "I don't know," he said honestly. "I was different then. Younger. More selfish." Hannah nodded. "Mom said you weren't ready to be a father. She didn't want to trap you." "She was always wise," said Ta. "Wiser than me." They sat in silence, both trying to process this new truth. Father and daughter, reunited in the most unlikely place, in the most desperate situation. Suddenly, a strange sound came from deep in the cave. A soft humming, like a machine turning on. "What is that?" asked Hannah, standing up. Ta stood too. "I don't know, but it's coming from back there." They moved deeper into the cave, following the sound. The passage got narrower. They had to crawl on hands and knees. Then it opened into a larger space. In the center of this new chamber was something that didn't belong in a natural cave. A metal panel in the floor, glowing with soft blue light. "This isn't normal," said Ta. "This was made by someone." Hannah knelt by the panel. "It looks like some kind of technology, but it's not human design." As she touched the edge of the panel, the blue light grew brighter. The humming sound got louder. Then the panel slid open, revealing a stairway going down. "It responded to your touch," said Ta, surprised. He touched the panel too. The light pulsed, growing even brighter. "It likes us both," said Hannah. "Why?" Before Tai could answer, a hologram appeared above the open panel. Strange symbols floated in the air, then changed to words they could read. "Welcome, compatible life forms," Tai read aloud. "Genetic match confirmed. Access granted." "Genetic match," said Hannah. "It's reading our DNA." Ta looked at her, not just reading it, recognizing it. Father and daughter, same genes. The stairway lit up, inviting them down. "Should we go?" asked Hannah. Ta looked at the desert outside the cave. No water, no food, certain death. "We don't have much choice," he said. "Whatever's down there can't be worse than what's up here." They began to descend the stairs, into the unknown depths beneath the desert, father and daughter, bound by blood, and by the secret that had just been revealed. Behind them, the panel slid closed, sealing them in. The stairs went down for what seemed like forever. Blue lights turned on as Tai and Hannah walked past them, then turned off behind them. The air got cooler with each step. It felt good after the burning heat of the desert. "What do you think this place is?" asked Hannah, her voice echoing slightly. Some kind of underground base, said Ta, built by whoever lived on this planet before humans came. At the bottom of the stairs, they found a large round room. The walls were smooth metal with strange patterns carved into them. In the center stood a round platform with a control panel. Look, said Hana, pointing to writing on the wall. It was in a strange language, but as they looked at it, the symbols changed. They became words they could read. Water extraction and purification system, read Ta. This is a water plant. Hana moved to the control panel. It lit up as she got close. It's still working, she said with wonder. After who knows how many years. She touched the panel carefully. More lights came on around the room. A soft humming filled the air. How do you know what to do? Asked Ta, watching her press different parts of the panel. I don't know, said Hana, looking confused. It just feels right. Like I understand it somehow. A section of the wall slid open. Behind it was a small room with a strange machine. The machine had a clear tube coming out of it. Water dripped slowly from the tube into a basin below. Water, whispered Hana. Her dry throat ached at the sight. Ta went to the basin and touched the water. Is it safe? Words appeared on the wall next to them. Water safe for compatible life forms. I think it means us, said Hana. It keeps saying we're compatible. Ta cupped his hands and filled them with water. He drank carefully. The water was cool and clean. The best thing he had ever tasted. Hana drank too. They took turns, drinking slowly to not shock their dry bodies. This place is saving our lives, said Ta when they had both drunk enough. But why did it let us in? What does compatible life forms mean? Hana looked at the control panel again. Maybe I can find out. She touched different parts of the panel. Images appeared in the air above it, holograms showing strange beings. They had 2 arms and 2 legs like humans, but their skin was pale blue. They had large eyes and small mouths. The people who built this place, said Ta. More images appeared. The blue beings working on machines, building cities under the desert. Then a new image. The blue beings mixing their DNA with something else. They were changing themselves, said Hana. Mixing their genes with humans, finished Ta, as the last image showed a being that looked more human than alien. They were becoming more like us. A new message appeared. Project Convergence successful. Human Iridian DNA compatible. New generation will survive both worlds. They were preparing to live on Earth, said Ta, by making themselves part human. And now their machines think we're them, said Hana, because we have similar DNA. Not just similar, said Ta. The machine specifically responded to both of us, father and daughter. Hana nodded. Our shared genes triggered it. She touched more controls. A map appeared, showing tunnels running under the desert. Some led to other rooms like this one. Some went all the way to the colony. We can follow these tunnels, said Hana. Stay underground, away from the heat and sand borers. And with water, added Ta. He looked at his daughter with new respect. You understand this technology better than I do. Hana smiled. Mom always said I had a gift for figuring out how things work. Now I know where I got it from. As they studied the map, a red light began flashing on the control panel. A warning sound filled the room. What's happening? Asked Ta. Words appeared on the wall. Alert. Surface activity detected. Unknown entities approaching facility entrance. Someone found the cave, said Ta. Or something. The warning continued. Facility location signal active. External scan detecting multiple life forms. Hana looked worried. When we activated this place, did we send out a signal? I think we did, said Ta. And now someone's coming to find it. The question was, friend or enemy? Ta moved quickly to the control panel. Can we see who's outside? Hana touched different parts of the screen. A new image appeared, showing the area above them. 6 people in dirty clothes and masks were approaching the cave. They carried weapons. "Desert raiders," said Ta grimly. "They hunt for old tech and sell it. Very dangerous." "How did they find us so fast?" asked Hana. "This facility sent out a signal when we turned it on," said Ta. "They must have been close by." A second alert started flashing. More words appeared on the wall. "Secondary signal detected. Military frequencies." A new image showed a small ship landing on the desert a few miles away. Soldiers in uniform stepped out. "Our people," said Hana with relief. "They're looking for survivors." But Ta looked worried. Maybe they're looking for something else. He touched the control panel. The image zoomed in on the soldiers. They wore the emblem of the Special Projects Division, not Search and Rescue. "That's not a rescue team," said Ta. "Those are Black Ops. They hunt for alien tech." "But they're our military," said Hana. "They'll help us." Ta shook his head. "Not if they think we found something valuable. The military has been looking for working alien tech for years. They'll do anything to get it, even hurt their own people." Hana couldn't believe it. "It wouldn't be the first time," said Ta. His face was hard with old memories. "Why do you think I got demoted from general to captain?" Before Hana could ask more, the warning sound got louder. The raiders had found the cave entrance. "We need to move," said Ta. "Now." They gathered what they could: water in bottles they found by the basin, and 2 small devices that looked like weapons. Hana could somehow tell how to use them. "This way," she said, pointing to one of the tunnels shown on the map. "It goes deeper, away from the cave entrance." They ran down the tunnel. Behind them, they heard the sound of the raiders breaking into the facility. Shouts echoed through the metal passages. The tunnel led them to another room, smaller than the first. This one had more screens and controls. "What is this place?" asked Ta. "Some kind of control center," said Hana, looking at the panels. "It monitors the whole system." On the screens, they could see the raiders searching the first room. The men were breaking things, looking for valuable tech to steal. Another screen showed the military team. They were moving fast across the desert, heading straight for the cave. Someone was guiding them. "They're tracking the signal too," said Ta. "We need to shut it down." Hana studied the controls. "I think this will do it," she said, pressing a sequence of lights. The screens flickered. A message appeared. "External signal terminated. Initiating defense protocol." In the first room, metal doors slid closed, trapping the raiders inside. They banged on the doors, shouting in fear. "You turned on the security system," said Tai, impressed. "Not on purpose," said Hana. "It just happened." Another message appeared. "Defense shield activated. Compatible life forms protected." A blue light spread out from the control panel, washing over Tai and Hana. It didn't hurt. It felt warm, like standing in gentle sunlight. "What's happening?" asked Ta. "I think it's protecting us," said Hana. She looked at her hands. They were glowing slightly with the blue light. On the screens, they saw the military team reach the cave. They had heavy equipment with them. They began setting up what looked like drills and scanners. "They're going to break in," said Ta. And when they do, a loud boom shook the facility. Dust fell from the ceiling. "They're using explosives," said Hana. "We need to get further away." They ran to another tunnel, this one sloping down. The blue light stayed with them, surrounding them like a shield. Behind them, more explosions rocked the facility. The military team was forcing their way in. "We can't outrun them forever," said Ta. "We don't need to," said Hana. "Look." The tunnel opened into a massive cavern. In the center was a large round platform, covered in the same strange patterns they had seen before. It hummed with power. "What is it?" asked Ta. "I think," said Hana slowly, "it's the heart of the whole system." As they stepped onto the platform, the blue light around them pulsed brighter. The humming grew louder. "It's responding to us," said Ta. "To our DNA. Father and daughter, said Hannah. The perfect key. The platform began to glow beneath their feet. Whatever was about to happen, there was no turning back now. The platform hummed and glowed brighter under their feet. Screens appeared all around them, floating in the air. They showed different parts of the facility. They showed the desert above. They showed the raiders trapped in one room, and the military team breaking through in another. We can see everything from here, said Ta. I think this is the control center for the whole planet, said Hannah, or at least this region. She moved her hands over the controls that appeared in front of her. More screens lit up, showing other facilities like this one, scattered across the desert. All were dark. This was the only one working. Can you shut the doors to keep the military out? Asked Ta. Hannah tried, but a red light flashed. No, they've broken the door controls. They'll be here soon. On one screen, they saw the military team moving through the tunnels. They had scanners that showed them the way. They were following Ta and Hannah's path. We need to leave, said Ta. Wait, said Hannah. Look at this. She pointed to a screen showing a map of tunnels leading away from this room. One path was marked in blue, leading to a place far from here. The words next to it said, "Emergency exit." That's our way out, said Ta. But before they could move, a new explosion shook the room. Part of the wall collapsed. Through the dust and smoke, they saw the first of the military team enter. Todd pulled Hannah behind a large piece of equipment. Stay down, he whispered. The soldiers moved into the room, weapons ready. Their leader was a tall woman with cold eyes. She held up a scanner. 2 life signs, she said. They're still here. Tay recognized her voice. Major Yun, he said, standing up slowly. It's been a long time. The woman turned, surprised. General Ta. No, it's Captain now, isn't it? Her voice was mocking. How far the mighty have fallen. What are you doing here, Yun? Asked Ta. Same as you, she said. Looking for alien tech. The difference is, I have permission. She pointed her weapon at him. You're trespassing on a military operation. We crashed here, said Ta. We're just trying to survive. And you happen to find the one working alien facility on this planet. Major Yun laughed. That's quite lucky. She waved her scanner around. My readings show this place is fully operational. The first one we've ever found. Command will be very pleased. She looked at Ta. Step aside, Captain. This is now a military matter. We found it first, said Hannah, standing up next to Ta. It responded to us. Major Yun turned her scanner on Hannah. It beeped rapidly. Interesting. You're giving off unusual readings. She looked at Ta. Both of you are. One of the soldiers moved closer to Hannah. When he did, the blue shield around her glowed brighter. The soldier jumped back. What is that? Demanded Yun. Protection, said Ta. The facility recognized us as compatible. Compatible? Yun's eyes narrowed. What does that mean? Before Tai could answer, one of the other soldiers grabbed Hannah's arm. The blue shield sparked, throwing the soldier back. But the shield around Hannah flickered and faded. It's weakening, said Yun with a smile. Take them both. The soldiers moved forward. Ta tried to fight, but there were too many. They held him back while 2 grabbed Hannah. Don't touch her, shouted Ta. As one soldier pulled Hannah's sleeve up to put restraints on her wrist, he stopped. Major, look at this, he said. On Hannah's wrist was a small birthmark. It was shaped like a crescent moon. Major Yun looked at it, then at Ta. Show me your right wrist, Captain. Ta didn't move. Another soldier grabbed his arm and pushed up his sleeve. There on his wrist was the same crescent-shaped birthmark. Yun looked from one to the other. Well, well, she said softly. Father and daughter, that explains the compatibility. Tai and Hannah looked at each other. The same birthmark. Final proof of their connection. I never knew, whispered Ta. I do now, said Hannah. Major Yun pointed her weapon at Hannah. Here's what's going to happen, Captain. You're going to show us how to control this facility, or the girl dies. Ta stepped in front of Hannah. Touch her, and I'll destroy this whole place. You don't have that power, said Yun. We do together, said Ta, reaching back to take Hannah's hand. As their hands met, the blue shield flared back to life around them both, stronger than before. The platform beneath them began to rise.